Maybe we start with the silent era. It's a fundamental part, one of the most creative parts, even though we were under British Hukumat. If you see this is a focus on the Bengali film booklet with a focus on Uttam Kumar and Suchitra Sen's romance. Women did not enter cinema at the beginning. It was seemed to be something that was beneath, who was probably the most famous man in India, on par with what a Shah Rukh Khan is today. And this was KL Saigal. This was the artwork of Pandit Ramkumar Sharma, one of the greatest painters of Indian art memorabilia for cinema. This was the original poster, but this is the artwork. But they rejected it.
Mughal-E-Azam.
And Mughal-E-Azam. This is the invitation that went out. You know, it was like a Mughal Empire emperor sending out for his premiere. Nargis and Chandra Mohan were the first heroes and heroines of Mughal-E-Azam.
Okay.
Until Dilip Kumar and Madhubala came in 15 years later. One copy was in Shah Rukh Khan's ownership. And first thing he did, out of love and respect, go to Dilip Kumar. Then you've got, you know, all the actors used to promote BDs. People forget, Hema Malini and Dharmendra were the greatest promoters of BD. So many of these also were illegal adverts, without formal endorsement, like this one, used cock matches. This is a re-release artwork for the Punjab territory.
All right.
So for Punjab release, the colors change. They want more blood.
We're here at Delhi's India Habitat Centre, where an exhibition titled World Greatest Mela is underway. It's curated by Neville Tuli, who's joining us. Neville, welcome to CNN News 18.
Thank you.
Neville, you've been an art collector and archivist from last 3 decades. Here there's a display of rare posters and film memorabilia. What is the objective behind this exhibition?
The objective for the last 30 years has been a single-minded focus on how we can make our country, our people, our citizens, the world at large, reimagine, re-look at, re-understand India. India's priorities, her values, her history, her aesthetic frameworks, her thinking processes, her critical cultural disciplines, and how to recreate that with joy so that our schools and colleges and universities, whose educational framework has been failing for many, many years, begins to understand that knowledge is not purely a textual driven source, but the visual and the textual and the audio need to have a jugalbandi, which is very unique. But for that to happen, a great archive and library and knowledge base needs to open up. So exhibitions like this is the first exhibition. It's the second in a way. The first introduced the whole vision. This is the one focusing on cinema as a critical educational resource. So all the objects which have made up cinema over the years, which were byproducts of making a film, from the advertisements to the artworks, to the photographs, to the glass slides, to the lobby cards, to the show cards, the costumes, screenplays, they all are great sources of knowledge. They're great sources of learning. Now, if we can present it to the public and make them fall in love again with cinema, then you've got yourself a new openness of thought.
So now, like I said, you've been doing this from last 3 decades. How have you structured this exhibition? Like, where are you starting
look,
from?
Any exhibition can only capture the essence of such an idea. You have to capture the energy of India's 120 years of cinema, the manner by which she captured India's imagination, what India was going through, what India stood for, what she was trying, how she was trying to transform. Cinema, more than any other cultural discipline, took that on. She was entertainment, she was art form, she was took on box office, she took on glamour, she took on celebrity, and now more than ever, she has to become a major source of education for any subject, whether you want to learn history, whether you want to learn political science. So we choose certain critical moments of cinema, films, personalities, institutions, that changed the way we looked at the subject. So obviously we start with the silent era. It's a fundamental part, one of the most creative parts. Even though we were under British Hukumat, we still had a deep desire to create something which was our own. To different facets of how photography evolved. Black and white photography in Indian cinema is world class. People have never given it credit even till today. Then the whole idea of various facets of cinema like dance, the uniqueness of the Kapoor family. Nearly 4 generations working on the 5th, no other cinema in the world. Then you've got great personalities like Kamal Amroi, Meena Kumari. Their lives are still a mystery. The legacy of Devdas, the idea of great films like Mughal-E-Azam, the nature of the artworks which made up these films, the working stills of someone like Satyajit Ray because of the Nimai Ghosh, international designs, because both Satyajit Ray and Raj Kapoor were instrumental for Indian cinema to go to the international world. The idea of the original hand-painted artworks, the nature of cinematic chemistry, the romance, the nature of romance, the idealism inherent in that romance, and how that romance slowly moved towards the angry, more violent phases of cinema. The nature of the Jubilee Trophy, a unique feature of Indian cinema. The nature of the fan mail, the nature of small moments where merchandising was attempted. So every little feature of cinema to give the energy so that whoever leaves this exhibition falls in love again with wanting to re-examine cinema.
Let's talk about then silent cinema. You know, we've only heard about when the film became talkies. Very little is known when it comes to the silent era of Indian cinema.
Sure.
Apart from, of course, Prithviraj Kapoor, who was
he comes later.
But before that, there was a Dinshaw Billimora, there was Suluchana, there was Master Vithal. Then they were...
Even before that, if you take something like, obviously Dada Saheb Phalke, Hiralal Sen, there are many pioneers. But let's take something like Light of Asia, Himanshu Rai, before he set up Bombay Talkies.
With Devika
Well, that was later. Yeah. But before that, Devika and Himanshu went to Germany.
Yeah.
So they studied cinema there, they met greats of cinema, and they made a film called Light of Asia.
Wow.
Now, Light of Asia was a pioneering film in many ways because the concept of Light of Asia as a poem, even Arnold's poem, because it was a way for the West to understand the East through Buddhism, through the life of Buddha. And so these are the original stills taken from the original print. It makes you understand the scholarship that was still going on at that time, that India was genuinely trying to be part of the global fraternity. She was trying to show herself, even though she was under British Hukumat. And then slowly you evolve to the period of the first talkies. You see their silver gelatin print of Alam Ara. You see a lesser known movie, Zarina. You take that, imagine Lalita Pawar, who later became, that's in Tolstoy's Resurrection remake. You got Santukaram, the first film that went to the International Film Festival at Venice. You got great directors like R.S. Chaudhary from Imperial. You got iconic personalities. Now we are moving towards the middle 30s.
Okay.
And Fearless Nadia became an icon, Zebunissa. And then 2 major strands open up. One of dance and the epic and the grandeur of Indian celebration. And Danti Kelal, which was IPTA's first movie. IPTA being Indian People's Theatre Association.
Okay.
Till today, probably the finest cultural organization that tried to take art and culture to the people, to the streets. So you have suddenly emergence in the 40s when we are fighting for our independence. Quit India is moving along. And you got here, this is Uday Shankar. The great Uday Shankar, Ravi Shankar's elder brother, created Kalpana, one of the only great kind of ballets of Indian cinema. And then what started after Kismet came Chandralekha. Chandralekha was that big blockbuster in 49, which then made in the 70s you saw all the great blockbusters. So this whole period of the 1913s and 10 years even prior, work in short films. The first feature film came in 1913, which India made from scratch, which was Raja Harishchandra. You know, every day students come in their hundreds, and I ask them a very simple question. Take away any 10 minutes of your life and imagine would you be the same person. It's impossible. Same for a country. You cannot take away any period of one's history and still imagine you are still who you wish to be and are. And therefore the continuity of history to the contemporary times, so that history is seen as a living contemporary energy. That's the key of this exhibition, that how do our students who are living in their bubble, I'll come to the Devdas phase and you'll understand how lacking in history our young minds are.
You own was close to 4 lakh objects.
That
you have preserved that, you have archived.
Well, look, ownership is a very strange word to use.
But yeah, you have actually
but I have over 30 years, much more than that.
Yeah.
I've lost much. I've lost also
So then
hundreds
in this
of
scenario,
thousands.
how do you decide which piece of art to preserve or worth your attention?
Look, history requires respect. There are moments in history, in each individual's life, institution's lives, the journey of a nation, which have to be respected. You choose that. You study 30 years of research and study. One is dedicated to this at all levels. And cinema is just one of the 16 research categories that one has dedicated oneself to. The fine arts are there, photography, the popular arts and crafts, architectural heritage, the nature of the economics of culture, automobile and travel, the social responsibility of a creative mind, the nature of uncertainty as seen by magic, sci-fi, horror and gambling, the relationship between India and the rest of the world, the need to seek justice and political integrity, the nature of childhood and its old age, the nature of religion, spirituality, poetry and philosophy, the relationship between animals, humans and nature. These are all subjects that 18 hours a day, 7 days a week for the last 30 years, one has tried to coalesce with one single focus. Can we create the first contemporary modern framework for India studies? You imagine, over 39,000 institutions in the world and not one 3-year undergraduate course for India studies.
But you are starting one, if
I am creating that framework and giving this free to the world.
Can you please tell us about that course,
Sure,
the
look,
undergraduate
it's
course?
more than the course. There are great universities in the world that should have been doing this, but they didn't have access to a world-class archive, a knowledge base, and fully contextualized, fully documented. I'm opening that out to the world. So in October, for the first time, this will be available to everyone free. And God willing, we will have a new confidence in our people. Because at the end of the day, Vishal, the problem is still that the inequality is so deep. And the root of that inequality is rooted to access, not just to education, but the best education, which the finest universities in the world cannot even offer. And that, I hope, we will be able to give to our country people and the rest of the world. And let's see, after that, maybe again, one will fail, maybe we will succeed. But what I do hope will happen is that a new confidence and joy will enter the mindset, because education is facing too many problems and failures. And at the heart of it is this lack of joy. And unless the visual is brought in with the text as a source of knowledge, you are not going to change that energy. And that's one of the purposes of this exhibition.
We are here now at the Kapoors wall.
This is Prithviraj. We start with the founder of this great dynasty, a man of great integrity, energy, vision, and the only generation, the only family that has allowed 4 generations of film lovers and people who have, at the highest level, he gave rise to 3 great sons, Raj Kapoor, Shami Kapoor, Shashi Kapoor. They gave rise to very talented and brilliant children, who then in turn gave rise to, today's generation knows Ranbir Kapoor.
Yes.
But, he's the great grandson of...
Isn't he?
This is Prithviraj and his father.
Yeah.
But, the point was to show...
What about, there's another Kapoor called Trilok Kapoor.
Yes,
which was,
but Trilok is there, you can see Trilok.
He was also very active during silent
He was,
era.
absolutely. Just after.
Brother, he was, yes.
This is in Draupadi, the silent era, just on the verge of 1931.
Which film is this?
Draupadi. And then obviously, as we go deeper...
these are the onsets visual, which
This was with Dada Singh. This is his travels. These are personal photographs of how, showing silver gelatin prints which haven't been seen before. And then this is Avara's handbill in East Germany.
Wow.
Because Raj Kapoor, more than any other artist, took Indian cinema to Eastern Europe, the Soviet Union, and he became a genuine star along with Nargis there. And him and Satyajit Ray were the 2 directors, one of a certain kind of way the art was prominent, and the other way entertainment was prominent. So you can see 3 generations of the Kapoor and Kalaj.
Can you talk to us about these publicity materials, these booklets? What was the role of these booklets?
Well, let's look at it from here, because the booklet was the most important document today if you are going to teach cinema, design, the understanding of, if you see this is a focus on the Bengali film booklet with a focus on Uttam Kumar and Suchitra Sen's romance.
Okay.
And you see the nature of the design. If you go into many films, there's one Sai Bibi and Ghulam here, which is not their film, but I included it. It's a Gurudat film.
Okay.
But the design, the sensibility, the brilliance of the Bengali sensibility, where the font and the image merged. And that is very rare in Indian cinema booklets.
Can you also talk to us about how Indian cinema had these centers much before Mumbai became the center for Hindi cinema? It was Lahore and Madras, and it was in Bengal.
Madras, Calcutta, Lahore, obviously Bombay, Kolhapur, Pune.
Talking about then British India, then let's talk about the Art Deco architecture of some of the Mumbai theatres.
Well, Art Deco architecture in India began with the cinemas of Bombay.
Okay.
Regal was the first cinema in 1933. Then came Eros, then Metro, New Empire, and then after independence, the great Liberty Cinema. And there were many in Calcutta, in Madras, and here is a very rare set. This is Metro in the 50s, but here is Metro on the day it opened in 1938, 8th of June. And these are the original photographs. If you see, murals were made by the JJ School students under Charles Gerard, and it was one of the 1938. And films were shown of that period. Both the films were on the life of Napoleon. One was Conquest and the other was The Firefly. And then over the years, look at the beauty of the architecture. So it was on par with, and from that, the marine drives and all the Art Deco energy that came into India.
Can you also talk about the fashion of the pre-independence era and how it became?
Well, look, cinema and fashion was always intertwined. And if you see the birth of silent era, the woman was a far more important, the heroine was far more dominant than the hero. It was only after World War II and the coming of independence that the role of the woman changed. And the irony was, women did not enter cinema at the beginning. It was seen to be something that was beneath their sort of sensibility. Parents thought it was not safe, it was not a credible profession, and then it slowly transformed. And then you go through your various phases where the woman dominates, the man subservient, then equality tries to emerge, then again power structures change. And today again we've got a new balance, and hopefully there's a much deeper sense of equality. You take, for example, one theme which fascinated.
Devdas wall.
Now, every time the students come, I ask them a very simple question. who is this gentleman? And so far, in more than 1,000 students of the top universities of India, not one of them knows. And here was a man who was probably the most famous man in India, on par with what a Shah Rukh Khan is today. And this was KL Saigal.
I actually want to talk, he was the first singing star of India.
He was one of the, he was a man that represented the Dukhi Atma of India of the 30s, in a way. And because of this lack of history, because of this lack of understanding the context in which they are placed, the way the young minds are seeing themselves is with a huge blinkers, which makes it very easy to play with their sense of identity. And cinema, more than any other subject, can change that, because they have an emotional connect. There's a nostalgic connect. There's an aesthetic connect. They got the connect of their parents, the connect of their grandparents. And the Hindi film song is still the greatest glue that binds us together on many levels. Now you take the evolution of one theme. This is a wall dedicated to Devdas.
Yes.
So it was a 1917 novel by Sarat Chattopadhyay, and in 35 P.C. Pawar makes the first version in Bengali, then he makes the version in Hindi with Saigal, then comes the great Bimal Roy's Dilip Kumar's thing, and then you got Anurag Kashyap, well you got Shah Rukh Khan's, well Sanjay Leela Bansali's Devdas, and Anurag Kashyap's interpretation. But there are another 18 times Devdas has been reinterpreted. So there's a fascination about the pathetic nature of the male, Indian male, that falls apart when his love is lost and he takes to the bottle. Now you imagine why we've been so fascinated by this.
So let's first talk about this wall that is dedicated to Kamal Amroi.
This is dedicated to Mahal.
To Mahal.
The first great film that he made, and this was also one of the first great films of German expressionist influence.
Okay.
And India was now trying to be in touch with the modernism of the world, German expressionism, since the 1910s, since the cabinet of Dr. Calgary had entered the psyche of the world. So India was already running about 15, 20 years behind what the world was considered modern. But he took a major step forward, and then he made what was his favorite movie, but turned out to be a total flop, unfortunately. But it was a very powerful movie. Yesterday, Tazdar Amroi was here, Kamal's son.
Yes.
And he said this was his father's favorite movie, and one day, hopefully, it will be re-released. And then we obviously come to what became his great epic.
Pakiza.
And after Pakiza came Razia Sultan. Well, Pakiza obviously changed the way we look at cinema, the way of the song. Even today, you will hear the songs in every corner of India. Now, Razia Sultan we included to close Kamal Amroi's work, but also the artwork. This was the artwork of Pandit Ramkumar Sharma, one of the greatest painters of Indian art memorabilia for cinema. And you can see the style. It has a certain grandiose, expressionist, colorful energy which emanates for the film. Sometimes it's even more energetic than the film. This was the original poster, but this is the artwork. But they rejected it for 2-3 reasons. One, they spelled the word wrongly. There was an H.
Okay.
Secondly, the foot was too close to the woman's face. Okay. So it was showing a certain brutality, which because they wanted to say they could not crush my purity. So eventually this became the image which was put on all the original hoardings. Now the real stories are these things. The Jubilee trophies that used to give up. India is unique in the world to celebrate the Jubilee with these magnificent trophies and their artwork. And if you just hold it, pick it up for a minute, pick it up.
Oh, it's very heavy.
Yeah, so pick it up, just so that you understand the craftsmanship.
It's very heavy. It's like 5 kg?
8 kilograms.
8 kilograms.
So what I'm trying to show is the craftsmanship हर छोटी चीज़ में हमारा जो artistic माहौल है इंडिया में is so deeply refined, but slowly we've been destroying it. And even in these objects which were given away, this was given to Hemant Desai, all staff members got a golden jubilee. And here what I'm showing is we're trying to create that. These were the original hoardings in Kanpur when Pakiza was launched.
Okay.
So the objective of what one is trying to show is using all different art forms. Can we recreate every day in the life of India from a different perspective, from its cinematic, from its artistic, from its philosophical, from its poetic, from its architectural. And then we come to the love of his life, but obviously they had a very difficult relationship on many levels.
And but a sad part of Pakiza was like Meena Kumari died when Pakiza was ready.
Well,
so she couldn't see the
no,
success
no,
of the film.
She did. No. The success was there before she died. That's a total lie. She died in March. The success, she died later. March was the release.
Okay.
So she had 4 months, 5 months seen the success. She knew about the success, but her pain was always there. This was a film that was made after her passing away, and this is the original artwork of re-release posters. So what, now we start the Meena Kumari room.
Yeah.
So we take one original artwork which is of a re-release. That means after the first release, many years later, you show it again.
Okay.
But now you're trying to cater to the new contemporary audience. So it's not the audience of the 70s, it may be the audience of the 80s.
Okay.
And already the world has changed. So by the time they show it in the 80s, the angry young man has taken over the mindsets. And this is one of the great posters because there was a great love for each other and it was a genuine love of friendship. And then we have a small wall
dedicated to Meena Kumari.
To Meena Kumari, to show also how art objects inspire each other. So this is another very unique Indian art object which is called, it's a photo montage collage called a show card.
Wow.
So they use hand painting, they take cutouts of photographs and then they put lettering which is sometimes stenciled, sometimes hand done, and you can see that from the photograph how this is inspired. So you can see the way creativity functions. And India has this unique cut and paste mindset.
Can you talk to us about the importance of a film poster?
Sure.
From the time movie started till now, it's very important. Even you meet with the actors, poster is the first look or the first accessible part of a film that a film cinephile can own.
The way the lay public uses poster is a bit general. Because if you saw the booklets, they were the first. Posters came later.
Okay.
So first they were posters and handbills.
Okay.
I showed you some handbills. I showed you the Vagabond Avara's handbill. From the handbill came the development of size, because now you were also tackling the lobby of a cinema hall. So you had a certain size. So lobby cards came into place, window cards came into place, and then slowly when you went out to the public, you went to the walls, the posters started dominating. So the poster came mostly post 30s, but cinema has already started its publicity material post 1910s. So if you take a poster like this, this is a half sheet, very rare original Sangam poster.
How it was shot, do you know?
Well, look, it obviously is a ménage à trois after Andaz. So Andaz was the first ménage à trois of Indian cinema. Okay. So Dilip Raj and Nargis, Mehboob Khan's great movie. And this became the second great ménage à trois because just Raj Kapoor, Rajinder Kumar, Vajanti Mala. And then obviously Yash Chopra, if you see the cinema of Yash Chopra, he was always obsessed with the idea of three in a love affair, in any form, whether it's a Trishul, father, son, and another son, whether it's Dar, Shah Rukh Khan, Sunny Deol, and Juhi Chawla, Chandni, there's so many, Silsila, and so on. So here we come to focus now on the three sons.
Okay.
So Raj Kapoor's great films, and here is a man whose energy and passion for cinema is unsurpassed. The reason I choose the black and white photography, because that is still not respected on the scale. This is a great art form. Any other museum country in the world would be storing these as major documents of their history. Shami Kapoor, wow. A great artist, entertainer, changed the nature of dance with Helen, which you saw before. You take Shashi Kapoor, a most versatile, brilliant man, not just as an actor, but as a producer. And he gave a certain thought and gravitas to films like Kalyug, Junoon, 36 Chaurangi Lane, and so on. And then we come to what for me and for Indian cinema is pivotal, the single greatest film in the history of Indian cinema.
Mughal-E-Azam.
And Mughal-E-Azam. These are a selection of over 200 great. This is the invitation that went out. You know, it was like a Mughal Empire emperor sending out for his premiere. These are working stills of the making of Mughal-E-Azam.
So I just want to ask you, is there a process or a place that you return to each time you have to fix an artwork?
When I started buying in 93, when I came back to India, 93 December, I started basically the same day. And the love for cinema has been there from childhood. I was now opening up to the fine arts. I was opening up to India's architectural heritage, to the popular arts. And people actually came to me once they found out there's this mad fellow who is just buying everything. He doesn't bargain, he gives you whatever you want. Everyone just came to us. Okay. And then over the years, from the early years, then Oceans, I had to keep two different worlds because Oceans had to be the auction house. I tried to get it involved in archiving, but when we went through difficult times, it became difficult. So the personal archive of the family had to continue. So the family archive continued, and we built systematically so that, because this was all getting destroyed. You could see everything going today, not even 0.1% is left in the world. It's all gone because this was paper. It was ephemeral, it was mistreated. Humidity in India destroys paper like nothing else. The acidity of paper, to preserve this, it took me virtually, even through virtual bankruptcy, one kept it going so that these things would be preserved and that hopefully the next generation will take it forward and use it as part of the knowledge systems of building India. Now you take this man, from 1945, when he first started thinking about making Mughal-E-Azam, to 1960, he bought 10 covers of Film India from 1945 to 1960. He never gave up, whatever troubles he faced. Nargis and Chandra Mohan were the first heroes and heroines of Mughal-E-Azam, until Dilip Kumar and Madhubala came in 15 years later. So here is a man, and look, he wanted to take it to the south. So in Tamil Nadu, look at the way he would promote it. And then you see just two examples we got in here. Hussain made a great set of seriographs on Mughal-E-Azam. So the kind of diversity of art which gets created, inspired from one great film, railway platform, timetables, to working stills of battle scenes, to great premiere invitations, to half-sheet posters, full-sheet posters.
Is this the original?
Yes, this is one. No, obviously posters were made in many copies. One copy was in Shah Rukh Khan's ownership. And first thing he did, out of love and respect, go to Dilip Kumar and get Dilip Kumar's signature.
So because signed by this?
No, this is my copy, our archives copy. He has his own copy.
And Shah Rukh Khan owns one as well.
This same one.
Wow.
And then you see the show cards. Then you see the black and white, beautiful silver gelatin prints. So you see the diversity of what it takes to make a film. And then we move to cinematic chemistry. And it starts obviously with Raj Nargis. So from the film stills to calendar art. This is the original calendar art.
Talking about cinematic chemistry, much before Raj Kapoor and Nargis, There were
Suluchana and Billimora.
Suluchana and Dinshaw Billimora.
Even Master Vithal had his thing. There was Zubeda, there was Miss Rosie, there was
But we don't know much about
We
them.
don't. And that research is what we are trying to encourage. This is in Barsat Ki Raat. Look at the joy between a Devanand and a Vaidya Raman.
A lovely photo.
16 Saal. And this is the last scene. This is the last scene of Raj Kapoor and Nargis ever on cinema.
Okay.
So this was
After
the way
that,
he shot it. They never came together. And that's why it's romance as one of the few great romantic, cinematic romantic pairings. And then we come to a different kind of romance, the romance between Rajesh Khanna and Sharmila Tagore from Aradhna, the romance between Hema Malini and Dharmendra. And then another forgotten, wonderful relic of cinema, the glass slide.
Where they were used?
These were projected in the cinema hall during interval, next show, matinee.
In the 40s
they would
and
put
50s?
40s, 50s, 60s, up till the 70s. We have films here. Bobby have a lovely thing. So up till the late 70s, the glass slide was being used. And look at the artwork. And yesterday we had a lot of children who have certain visual impairment and impairments, and you can see the energy. When they see this, their mind changes because different kinds of art forms tackle different sensibilities in different ways. These are original artworks. So these are original artworks from which the publicity material is then made.
Wow.
So the original paintings, and from these paintings, this is Mangal Pandey's original painting, the Ganga Jamna, one of the great films of Indian cinema. There's a small little corner for humor. Because humor is pivotal to Indian cinema, and we've lost it. And we need to regain it with a new energy. So Mehmood was a unique character. Parosan was one of the landmark films of Indian cinema. But to what you were talking about, the little corner of merchandise, it was done with a great innocence.
Wow,
so whether
that's very cool.
It's
Tiffin boxes,
tiffin boxes, big biscuit boxes, flasks, talcum powder. These are talcum powder boxes of Bobby. The Bobble doll of Don 2 is the latest. Then you've got, all the actors used to promote BDs. People forget, Hema Malini and Dharmendra were the greatest promoters of BD. Look at Amitabh on the BD here. Look at Rekha and Gold Sport.
Yeah, that's 80s to the people who've grown up in 80s, yeah.
And there's so many. This is just a sample. So many of these also were illegal adverts without formal endorsement, like this one. Use cock matches. Now, obviously, someone is trying to bring the erotic nature of Rekha's character and use it in that way. Then what we've introduced is fan mail.
These are fan mails, wow.
So these are original letters written by Shami Kapoor, Madhubala, Nargis, Rakhi, Vajanti Mala, Raj Kapoor, and so on. And because in that is a great history of the relationship of the common fan, which is the most important thing in cinema. And people don't understand how deep the love is of the common Indian man to cinema. This was one fan had collected a big album.
Wow.
We've just taken a few sleeves of all Devanand films which he signed personally for her.
Wow.
Archana. She used to live in Surat. And so, it's a great passion.
Well, there's a cutout here of Dilip Kumar.
A
but
cutout.
I want to talk to you about...
It's the original standee of Azad. It is Azad was where he was virtually kidnapped because the director wanted him to make a movie in Coimbatore. Okay. And he didn't have the dates.
Oh, really?
So they just took him and did not let him leave until he finished it.
Wow.
And Yahudi is the original standee from Alfred Talkies in the 60s.
Wow.
And this wall is the international art of Indian cinema. And you can see here the difference in the designs.
Yeah.
Because you can see...
how film creative travels from
absolutely.
when it goes out of India.
And the French version of Devi, the Ukrainian, this was when Ukraine was part of Soviet Union, of Mevana. Look at Avara's poster by the Polish Zawadzki. Look at the Eastern European German poster of Jacques Devereux.
This is from BR Films?
Yeah, B.R. Chopra, obviously this is one of the few Jubilee trophies that show from Naya Daud to Eki Rasta to Sadhna to Dul Kapoor to Kanun. And the Jubilee Party, if you see down here, so at the Jubilee Party of Kanun, this award was given to all those who had been part of those years of
including the
B.R.
people who
Chopra.
were behind the
Absolutely.
camera.
Dilip Kumar even got an award because he distributed Kanun.
He was a distributor of the film.
Yeah. So,
and also Raj Kapoor kept his tradition going with henna. And
this is the great logo from Balsat.
Yeah.
So the RK logo is obviously the most famous. So from the Golden Jubilee of Bobby to Ramtevi Gangameli to henna, we have all of them, but we can only show bits and bobs.
Can you also talk to us about the posters of Raj Kapoor films? Like, they've been posters of, say, Bobby, which was very vibrant. And then there were posters of...
they were different. The Bobby poster, which was very vibrant, was inspired actually by the Beatles.
Okay.
The Beatles were very famous in the early 70s.
All right.
And there was a psychedelic kind of art nouveau style that was evolved. Let me show you something so that you get a sense of the scale.
Of Sholay?
Not just Sholay, of the Kranti 12-sheeter, one of the great posters of Indian cinema, and a unique one. Manoj Kumar was very involved in making his own posters, but this is a 12-sheeter. And this is done again by Pandit Ram Kumar Sharma.
But this was displayed where for the first time?
This is a very unique story because no credits.
Wow.
So what Manoj Kumar did, he made 5 no credits pre-release posters, and he sent it to the 5 great, and this one is one that's left, and it's all gone. And obviously the great banner
Sholay
of Sholay, the original that was shown in Surat later on the first re-release when it had become a blockbuster, they all are gone. So you wanted Trilok Kapoor. That was a Trilok Kapoor movie there. And look at Nargis.
But tell us about, this is the still from Hera Fairy.
This was just, we put them outside here because we had closed this space. We didn't want to keep it empty. These are basically about the nature of the cinematic chemistry between Amitabh Bachchan and Vinod Khanna and the comic nature that stars could play.
How many posters you have of mythological films?
Baba,
Jai Santoshima was big one.
This is the original artwork. This is the original artwork from which the posters are made. This is a re-release artwork for the Punjab territory.
All right.
So for Punjab release, the colors change. They want more blood. They want more red. They want more action. You take these two, Kote Sikhe and Shankar Shambhu. Now these were examples also of re-release in the Punjab, Ludhiana, Jalandhar, Chandigarh area. Now in those times, the audience in Punjab is very different because these are also what we would call for the masses, for the, where they want just their 2 hours of switch off.
Yeah.
So you can see the designs, that's Narayan's design, where everything is a bit more violent, everything is a bit more angry, everything is a bit more bloody, everything is a bit more red. So that's sensibility. And look at the original first great dacoit film of Ganga Jamna and the subdued brilliance.
But there's no name here.
No, they actually, the names were in wooden blocks. They got broken, so I've kept them for preservation.
Also tell us about Mr. India. दुश्मनों का नाश करने आ रहे हैं, जय बजरंग बली.
It's brilliant. These are the kind of things that once the film is re-released, you choose those dialogues which you think will bring in the public again. So the posters are created with that in mind for re-release. And it has an energy.
Detail, look at small, even the actors in small characters are showcased here.
Absolutely. So, it's a great world which, see, cinema more than any other medium has captured the energy and the rhythm of India. She's captured it because she was forced to play so many simultaneous roles. and no other cultural discipline. What would you like to?
Also talk to us about curves. I mean, just
again,
lovely guitar.
This came in, we were first going to go larger for the Kapoor family. Then we decided just focus on the first three brothers. But obviously Rishi Kapoor's Curves Award is something which, it's a remarkable award. And here we included Rajinder Kumar because he was called the Jubilee Kumar.
Yes.
And
he
virtually
was
every
Jubilee
film.
Kumar, yes.
So Gawar was one of his great Jubilee trophies. And then we come to the last phase, which also in a way is the first phase.
So this is the wall showcasing behind
all the films of
Satyajit Ray.
Ray, from Guppy Gain, Bhaga Bain, all the way to Ajantuk, where Nimai Ghosh was like his shadow. He was his chronicler. He was a man who wanted to give the genius of Ray his due photographically. So he was always there on the sets. So these are those films to give you an insight on the sense of detail with which this man created. I'll give you a sense over here. Let's take, look at this, where he's combing the hair so that, and it's just one of the people in the role. So the way, it was a very different aesthetic to the mainstream entertainment box office cinema. And obviously it did not always garner public acclaim and interest, but what it brought was great critical respect to India, and it made Satyajit Ray obviously one of the greats of world cinema, and it gives you a sensibility. It's a different aesthetic, it's a different energy. It's an energy that tries to focus on the reality of a certain world and quietly, slowly, systematically reveal it, rather than in this world which you've just seen, where we have to dance it and sing it and shout it, because there's a different energy required. Because there is that very important entertainment escapist responsibility. And people dismiss escapism very easy. It's the pseudo-intellectuals who just forget how desperate daily life is for millions. And the need for that 2 hours switch off without so much which is irrelevant. And the public were given that. Even if a lot was rubbish, even if a lot was very melodramatic and sentimental in the worst form, it's not necessarily only an art form. It's entertainment, art, box office, glamour, celebrity, and now a great source of education.
But then, Neville, tell me, what do you see the role of archiving and preserving wonderful photographs in this digital age? Has it become easier now compared to?
Not really, because different issues come up. No, you have to go through mindsets which have become so narrow, which have become so blinkered, that the energy required, I may not need the energy in archiving and preserving and documentation, but I need more energy now in opening the mind. So energy doesn't get destroyed, it gets transformed. Nothing gets easier. We are still asking the same question 6,000 years later. Just the clothes have changed and the forms have changed. So most people get taken in that we are now living in an age. The radio did as much transformation as the internet. So did the video, so did television, so did celluloid. So this will also pass. And all of us, you can see it, we all are returning to a different relationship with nature, a different relationship with our loved ones, a different relationship with animals, and most important, Vishal, a sense of our own inner voice. And the digital age is facilitating that, because the internet is without a shadow of a doubt the world's greatest potential unifier. But it's up to us how we're going to use it. Is it going to end up divided? Or is it going to really unify us with love and a sense of oneness on many common grounds? So we'll see. I'm not at all, digital age is just like any other technology. It will come, it will transform, and the human being will...
But it has made the content more accessible to the common man.
Yes, of course. That's...
These photographs will be available on
everything.
your website?
From October onwards, we will make virtually the whole knowledge base of the last 200 years of India across those 16 subjects. My long overdue gift for 30 years of work and many of my failures, and obviously a few successes here and there. But let's hope this one works out.
Well, I think we covered a lot today, and I just want to thank you for doing this.
You're welcome.
For all cinephiles, it's really a treasure trove. Thank you so much for your time and best of luck. And I hope you make a documentary film from these photographs one day. I'd like to see
Very
that.
kind of you. Thank you, Vishal.
Nice, thank you.
Thank you.